Well, it's official. I've been putting out the feelers out there and I got a response that I didn't really like and enjoy, and I'm just gonna share it with you guys that Sebastian Stan being recast for the Luke Skywalker role is being cancelled by some of the fans, and the reason is insane because, well, they feel that Sebastian Stan is officially too old to play Luke Skywalker immediately after Return of the Jedi, which is the thing we want most, you know? We want him to be played after Return of the Jedi. We want him to have this original adventure series going across the galaxy, learning about the Jedi, learning about the Force. As you remember, in the sequels, as bad as they were, they gave us an insight into old Luke and how he actually managed to collect a lot of Jedi knowledge throughout the galaxy. This is the episodes we want to see. I believe that the fans are mostly interested in that, and if that kind of a series with Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker traveling across unknown planets to Star Wars before meeting Force-sensitive beings that not necessarily are Jedi or Sith, not necessarily are light side or dark side, like we've talked about, like the Bendu, for example. These are Force-sensitive beings that Luke could benefit from, that the fans could benefit from, but when talking about recast, a new actor should finally step in and play Luke Skywalker. People are just not having it. I saw a lot of fans, especially this one, that has 5.4 thousand upvotes on Reddit, saying, I feel like Stan's getting a little too old to be young Luke. Now, what did he mean by young Luke? Well, post was about Sebastian Stan recasted as Luke Skywalker. So, of course, Sebastian Stan is not going to be young Luke in A New Hope. He's going to be playing a Luke version after Return of the Jedi. Is he an old Luke? No. But is he a young Luke? I wouldn't call him a young Luke after Return of the Jedi. He's 28 years old, something around there. And Sebastian Stan, yes, he's in his mid-40s. I got that. But hey, we got Hayden Christensen that actually played a younger Anakin Skywalker. So a little de-aging goes a long way. Better than just a complete CGI face. It's just my thinking, you know what I mean? So let's talk openly about Sebastian Stan. If you read Heir to the Empire, and I'm sure Dave Filoni has read it, and has consulted with Timothy Zahn, even back during the Star Wars Rebels days when they brought back Thrawn. Dave Filoni was responsible for that, so he knows exactly what happens in Heir to the Empire. Luke Skywalker is the main protagonist, not the Mandalorian, not Ahsoka, or not anybody else. I want to see these other characters too, don't get me wrong, but what about Luke Skywalker? Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Luke Skywalker the Wise, the Grandmaster Jedi that never was? This is the tragedy. The tragedy is that on screen, we have never seen the best version of Luke Skywalker. Now, I know what some of you might say. Some of you might say that he was the best version in Return of the Jedi when he defeated Darth Vader. That's not exactly true, because he became much more powerful than that in the EU afterwards. Legends Luke is talked about to this day. Yes, he might be OP because it's the comics or it's the novels, but a version of that, a slight thing of that, we never got. This is a travesty. This is the biggest tragedy in Star Wars. Now, what happened with Sebastian Stan? He was supposed to replace Mark Hamill for Luke Skywalker. We said that his stunt double even came out and said that they have talked together. Mark Hamill and Sebastian Stan have talked about a Luke Skywalker recast, that Mark Hamill completely supports Sebastian Stan for him to go in and play Luke Skywalker, the new version of Luke Skywalker, post Return of the Jedi timeline. And it looks like the only issue I can think of is Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy are the main culprits blocking this recast. Here's the thing, I think that they want Sebastian Stan to focus on Marvel more so than Star Wars. This is the only issue I could really think of, because you have the blessing of Mark Hamill. Who else do you want to tell you? The fans have had some pull. The fans have rooted for Rosario Dawson to be Ahsoka. We got it. Mads Mikkelsen to be Thrawn. We got it. So in the casting process, when we were focused, we achieved the result. Even in Marvel, when they wanted John Krasinski to be Mr. Fantastic, we got a version of that. So the fans have some pull. Now, logically, just think about it. The fans say we want Sebastian Stan. All of us unanimously, in my videos, in my comments, people really enjoy that idea more so than a CGI Luke. Now, Mark Hamill, after the fans, Mark Hamill wants him too, but apparently not Disney because they're not calling him. Now, what I've been hearing from rumors and a particular source that I kind of trust, he said that there are things definitely in motion. There are talks and conversations. The higher ups have not come to a conclusion. This is why I don't want to give out much information about the surrounding situation because it might out this person. But the thing is that this is why in most of my videos I talk about the higher ups rather than the people kind of in charge of these projects. Because I know that Dave Filoni, I'm aware that the guy knows what needs to be done, but the higher ups are mostly focused on Marvel. Star Wars is seen at this point as kind of a failure. Yes, it brought billions of dollars, but they failed where it counted. The shows have been a hit and a miss. So Star Wars is rocking the boat, the money boat. But when you go to Marvel, Marvel has a much more of a prestige. Right now, I'm saying right now, Marvel has a more of a prestige plateau than Star Wars. And this is sad because until that changes, I don't think we're gonna get Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker, especially with Thunderbolts now doing that well in the both in the box office and critics-wise. People like, some love the movie. Not the best news for Luke Skywalker. Is there a different actor? Is there somebody else that could come in and do the job that Sebastian Stan could do for Luke Skywalker? I don't know. Because the problem is that Sebastian Stan directly has the blessing of Mark Hamill. I don't know if any other actor has that blessing. Then you have the looks, then you have the features, the height, the body type. There is such a parallel between these two actors that it would be a shame for it to go to waste. Let's not forget also that Sebastian Stan is getting older. He's not getting younger. And by this time, he is a lot older than when we started the rumors when it was in 2015 and 16, because that's 10 years later. He is now in his 40s, and it doesn't even match the age of Luke after Return of the Jedi. You can maybe kind of de-age, just brush him just a tiny bit. But even then, if you don't get ahead of this now, we're talking projects coming 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. So he's going to be even older, even if you cast him right now. And this is kind of the main issues that I've been dealing with when talking about recast. We urgently need a Luke Skywalker recast for the fans to kind of have that sigh of relief. Because as I said, I started the video talking about this. We have never gotten a real version of Legends Luke Skywalker, the all-powerful Luke Skywalker. Luke in A New Hope was a kid learning. Luke was cocky in Episode 5 Empire Strikes Back, and then in Return of the Jedi, yes, he was great, but he wasn't the greatest. And that's the tragedy. We've never seen it. We've never seen it in 3D animated. We've never seen it in live action. We've never seen it. The sequel is completely botched. His storyline, his character, they did a horrendous job with Luke Skywalker, with the old Luke Skywalker. Even his death doesn't really serve anything. Kylo Ren continues on his rampage even after that. So at the end of the day, he just helped some rebels escape. That's the death of Luke then, and not to mention the barbaric killing of his character. Luke Skywalker defeated Emperor Palpatine without a lightsaber, with only the light side of the Force by him, redeemed Darth Vader, again, only by using words on the light side. No Force, no lightsaber, and this guy, in the end, just leaves it all behind and gets tired of it. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that the character is in the position it is today. And not saying that George didn't have anything to do with it because he refused to continue the story of Luke Skywalker, but Disney just buried it completely. So I just wanted to give you guys some hope that a recast is still in the talks, but until we get our voices heard, it's going to be super difficult. So yeah, talk to anybody you want right now down in the comments. Tell them your opinion, tell them your thoughts, tell them you want Luke Skywalker more than anybody else. Perhaps they'll listen. You have to try. We have to try. So Sebastian's stunt double talked about this, John Nania.
Do you know how many conversations he and I have had about this? Literally, there was a moment that I'm like, I'm sure you've seen the picture of you as Luke Skywalker. He then told me, he was like, Mark and I have actually talked about this. Like,
That's
not
awesome.
anything official on like
That's so
Disney's
cool.
level in Star Wars, but I guess Mark Hamill has been like, he's a fantastic actor. Let him
Yeah.
do it. But then Sebastian, being as awesome as he is, he's like, Mark is still doing the job. I don't want to take the job from him and he's still working. You're not going to beat the original. But then his other side to it is like, they're not calling.
Yeah.
He's like, I hear it. I'd love to do it. John is drooling because he would love to do it. It would make Anthony Mackie jealous as shit because he loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they're just not calling for it.
This is an era like no other. This is turmoil to the nth level. The New Republic hasn't been formed. Thrawn is back with his Heir to the Empire trilogy. So why can't Luke be a part of this? Why can't Luke be a permanent part of this battle? You can have Ahsoka and Mando and Ezra and Luke. We don't have to divide to have this division. In the back of my mind, I'm just scared that they just want to erase Luke. We've had enough of Luke Skywalker. Lucasfilm, in this Disney canon, there's no Luke Skywalker 3D animated series, which we can easily have post Return of the Jedi, the adventures that Luke had. He had tons of adventures, the ancient texts, the ancient knowledge, what he can gather out there. He could go to Vader's castle. We've never had a comic series or an animated episode, anything that he just travels to Vader's castle. Let's see what the hell is out there. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but at the end of the day, this is how I feel. It's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. Mark Hamill has approved. The fans approve. Just check out my last video, Disney, Lucasfilm. Check out this video. Please let them know down in the comments. What do you think about Sebastian Stan being recasted and playing Luke Skywalker for the Heir to the Empire era? There is just another hint that I sometimes think about, is that during the Heir to the Empire era, that Thrawn is now back into the galaxy and they will duke it out. Luke is 28 years old, somewhere around there, 28, maybe 29. And Sebastian Stan is a bit older. He's 42 now, 43 if they start shooting 44. Now in Thunderbolts, I mean, he looked great physically, but they might have that thinking that the opportunity was gone. When he was Bucky in 13, 14, it might have been great for him to be recast then. Now he's just a bit older, but even that's not an excuse. I'm trying to make excuses for them and I can't, because we got Hayden back as Anakin now in Ahsoka Season 1, and they had a touch of de-age in him. Just a touch, just a smidge. You could do the same thing for Sebastian Stan. The tragedy here, if you think about it, it's not just Luke Skywalker, it's Leia too. You will have to contend with Leia in this New Republic era, and they're not even talking about a recast for Leia either. I don't know what they're planning. Luke and Leia have just been completely wiped out, and they're not even talking about them. We talked in the last video about, Millie Bobby Brown perhaps being recast as Leia, which I thought was not a good idea, because I don't like her in that role. Leia has more gravitas to her. She's just kind of a more serious character than what I think Millie Bobby Brown would bring to the table. And there was a great comment that I haven't really thought about, and I'm going to post it here. This guy said that the actress playing Clea Markey in Andor could actually play Leia and would do a great job, and I 1,000,000% agree. That character, if you look at her from afar, she really looks like a Leia character. She's a kind of a diplomat. She knows when to fake smile and when to be tough. And this is Leia all the way. She was captured by Tarkin and she smiled in his face and stood tall to Darth Vader and Tarkin both in the room. I think that type of an actress, if it's not this specific actress. At the end of the day, Disney, there are no more excuses. Not from the fans and not from even the actors. You heard what the stunt double of Sebastian Stan just said. He is waiting. Sebastian Stan is waiting to be called, and he's not being called. He's not being talked to about any recast because, as I said, I don't think they have any plans for Luke or Leia, because they just want to move on with Ahsoka and with Mando and Ezra Bridger. This is their investment instead of Luke Skywalker, who can be completely recast with Sebastian Stan.